KPFT Local News at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon and welcome to KPFT Local News at 4 p.m. It's Tuesday, February 14th, 2017, Valentine's Day. Thank you all who contributed to our recent membership drive. The hard work is far from over, though. We need you to honor your commitment and send in those pledges. And if you did not donate, it's not too late. You may still pledge your support either on our website at kpft.org or by calling the front desk at 713-526-4000. Thank you for joining us. I'm Hugh Jones, and in the news this afternoon, Texas Senator Ted Cruz will have some visitors at his office. Earlier today, members took part in a rally as part of a nationwide Resist Trump Tuesday movement, organized by MoveOn.org. Members of Invisible Houston, Indivisible Galveston, and other progressive groups and their supporters demonstrated outside Cruz's office. Joining us now live in the studio to discuss this in greater detail is the group's spokesperson, Christy Callahan. Ms. Callahan, thank you for your time. Now, first, tell our listeners, what is Resist Trump Tuesday?
Resist Trump Tuesday is a movement to express to our senators that we do not approve of the actions taken by the Trump administration. It started as a Stop Trump Swamp Cabinet movement, but now we have many other issues to discuss every Tuesday.
Yeah, yes, we do. Now, why did you feel a rally outside Senator Cruz's office would be effective, and was it effective?
We believe that it was effective. Many people have come out to express their opinions and their First Amendment rights and exercise that. We felt that the rally was necessary because when we tried to get through on the telephones, the lines often went not to voicemail, but to an empty box that wouldn't even accept messages. And on Tuesday the 24th, when we attempted to set appointments with the staffers, 24 of us were escorted out of the building by police rather than being allowed into the offices to set those appointments.
Wow. Well, why do you think you were escorted out?
We think that the staffers didn't feel like it was important to speak to us that day.
Wow. Now, what message were you trying to convey? What message did you convey?
The message that we sought to convey on the 24th was that we were opposed to the nominations for cabinet members that we felt were unqualified to do their jobs and dangerous to the United States in those positions.
And what about today's protest? What was today's message?
Today's message was that we want to have a town hall meeting with Ted Cruz in the state of Texas in the year 2017.
Now, what was his response to that? Like, with the rally that happened today, like, how likely do you feel like it's like that is to happen? What was the response that you received today?
We haven't received any response from the senator to these rallies at all. However, we feel that if we continue to persist, eventually we will get a response from our Senate representative.
So, what concerns you the most right now with the president's recent actions? Because as we know, there's been a lot happening in the news. There's a lot to pick from. But what are some of the most concerning things that you find?
The most concerning thing to me right now is the travel ban and the ICE immigration raids here in Texas that are tearing families apart, detaining innocent people who are here, working very hard, contributing to our communities, and it's causing damage in these communities rather than being helpful.
Now let's switch gears here a little bit. Now, can you tell me a little bit about Indivisible Galveston?
Indivisible Galveston is a group of citizens who were very concerned after this election, and we've come together with a twofold strategy. We want to resist Trump's agenda, and we want to build our community for a brighter future.
And what kind of building are you seeking to make?
Well, just last night we had an event at Galveston Islamic Center where the mayor of Galveston, Jim Yarbrough, read a proclamation declaring Galveston to be a welcoming city. And we sent this message to our community that everyone is welcome there.
Wow. And so it happened yesterday. Where did it happen? And how was it received? Like, what was the reception like for that?
Okay, well, it was last night, 6 p.m. at the Galveston Islamic Center at 10th and Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And the Galveston Ministerial Alliance also helped us organize this event. Around 400 people showed up. It was a beautiful ceremony, just an outpouring of love and unity in our community. And I was very proud of the city of Galveston.
And what kind of events do you have coming up, similar to that, or just even completely different? Like, what is in the future for Indivisible Galveston right now?
The next event that we're planning, we want to host an ACLU Know Your Rights training session in Galveston. And we are also helping people learn how they can get on the ballot in local elections and facilitating those processes.
Now, I'm really glad you said that, because I know one of the biggest concerns in this election was voter turnout. And I know that there are some movements here to try to mobilize people to just show up at the polls. Is that something similar to what you're going to be doing at the ACLU? Or with the ACLU?
Well, with the ACLU, we were going to ask them to come in and teach people what their rights are in situations when they're dealing with law enforcement or other federal agencies. On a personal level, I'm encouraging people to become certified as deputy voter registrars. Mm-hmm. And we do have a training session at Galveston County Courthouse at 2 p.m. on this Friday, the 17th. Mm-hmm. And every third Friday of the month at 2 p.m. to become deputy voter registrars.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Now, Ms. Callahan, that's all the time we have right now, and I really want to thank you for your time and everything that you're doing. So we do look forward to different things that y'all are going to move forward and do, and just keep us informed so we can let everybody know how to get involved.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Is there a website that people can visit?
Yes, indivisiblegalveston.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ms. Callahan.
Thank you.
Now, in other news, the controversial immigration program 287G may have found a new home north of Houston. Montgomery County Sheriff Rand Henderson is openly considering implementing the voluntary program that forces police to assume the responsibilities of immigration and customs enforcement officers, also known as ICE. Sheriff Henderson is meeting next week with ICE officials to find ways to cooperate and incorporate the program in his county. Police Captain Brian Carlisle says he won't know if the cost of training police will be greater than the cost of jails housing undocumented people.
Maybe a misperception that this program entails us going around house to house and rounding up people and trying to determine their legality as far as their entry into the United States, and that's not what it is. It doesn't have anything to do with us making traffic stops and questioning somebody's legality as a citizen in the United States. So that's definitely what it isn't. What it is a program that once we arrest a violent felon or someone's had multiple high-order misdemeanors, when they're in the jail setting, they've already been arrested for another crime, then we're able to check their immigration status. And if they're illegal, then that gives us some further standing to have ICE assist us with their deportation after they've been adjudicated. If they shouldn't have been here to begin with, and they're violent criminals, that's taxpayer money that's being spent for another country's problem that unfortunately now we've got to pick up the tab for, and that's just not fair. And this goes without saying. I mean, mental health is a far greater issue in our jail and prison settings than immigration. When you repeatedly come into our jail, or you endanger, violate, harm one of our citizens, then it is our problem. And only to add to that, to find out that you're illegal, then that's a good recourse for us. If we have a way to get these people extradited back to the country they belong to. But we won't know if this is exactly the right route to go until we have that meeting next week and get to learn a lot more about the program and what those costs may or may not be, if they're hidden costs. Because we definitely don't want to pass anything along to our taxpayers that is going to be more detrimental than what we're spending anyway to house illegal aliens.
Supporters of the bill argue that that it will help keep undocumented immigrants and crime off the streets. On the other hand, opponents say this will not keep anybody safe. On the contrary, it will keep people from reporting crimes and help legalize racial profiling. The Texas Organizing Project's communication director, Mary Moreno, says it will be the same Montgomery will be looking for minor infractions, despite how it may be explained by officials.
Harris County has had 287G now for a long time. And I think it's around 7 or 8 of the county employees became agents of ICE. So they're always on duty, always at the jail. So when people get picked up, even for minor offenses like speeding or not having insurance, because people do end up in jail for those kind of things, they have the ICE agents / county employees have full access to them and can interview them, at any time, and that makes them a lot more vulnerable to deportations, even when they've just been accused of something and haven't been found guilty of anything. And that's what's going to happen in Montgomery County. And what happens, even though they'll spin it as it's only an in-jail program, word still gets out that if you end up in the jail for any reason, you could be on the road to a deportation. If someone is booked for a serious offense, ICE can get them, right? So that's already there. That's why 287G is not needed for that. That is already being addressed. It's been that way for a long time. So that I think people sometimes lack a basic understanding of how things work, and they hear about this program, and they think it's the solution, but it's already there. If somebody gets booked for murder, they're not coming out, right? So it's for us, 287G is not needed and only puts fear in communities and makes us less safe.
Montgomery County officials will meet with ICE agents February 23rd to decide how beneficial this program will be. KPFT Local News will keep you updated on the meeting and its aftermath. Now, in other news, an inmate has committed suicide while behind bars at the Harris County Jail. Sheriff's Office officials confirmed 33-year-old Vincent Dwayne Young died yesterday, Monday, February 13, 2017. Mr. Young was housed in the Harris County Sheriff's Office on 1200 Barker Street Detentional Medical Infirmary. Deputies assigned to the medical infirmary were conducting visual cell checks at 7:10 p.m. when inmate Young was found hanging by a bedsheet. Deputies immediately summoned for medical personnel who initiated CPR and medical intervention until EMS with the Houston Fire Department took over medical procedures and transported Young to St. Joseph's Hospital. Mr. Young was pronounced deceased at the hospital. As with all in-custody deaths, this incident is being investigated for violations of policy and law. The Harris County Sheriff's Office Homicide Unit, the Office of Inspector General Bureau, and the Internal Affairs Division are conducting simultaneous investigations. In addition, the Harris County District Attorney's Office will conduct a thorough review of its findings and present them to a Harris County grand jury. Now we're going to take you over to our traffic center with Shannon McCurchie. Shannon, how's it going out there today?
Well, traffic's not too bad at the moment, fortunately. On the Northwest Freeway outbound, that is back open over close to Kickapoo. That was closed earlier for a big chunk of the day due to a heavy truck vehicle fire and hazmat spill. And it's just a little slow going in the area, but it's picking back up nicely. And slow going in a few areas around town, including on the West Loop in both directions from Fornes over to the Katy Freeway. Outbound on the Katy Freeway from Beltway 8 out to Highway 6. And on the North Freeway outbound from Telephone to Little York, a little slow-going traffic. And 288 is beginning to back up from Old Spanish Trail out to Orem. That's a look at your afternoon commute. I'm Shannon McCurchie. Back to you, Hugh.
Thank you so much for that, Shannon. It's actually a surprise that after a tornado today, it's not worse out there. Wow. Well, stay tuned, and when we come back, we're gonna get you filled in on our weekly segment with Children at Risk, and we'll let you know what celebrities are doing to contact politicians here in Texas. Welcome back to KPFT News. Children at Risk, a Texas-based research and advocacy group, joins us every week here at KPFT to discuss issues that affect our children. Now, it's Valentine's Day, and we all love our children. We also love our smartphones, but a recent meta-analysis released in the Journal of the American Medical Association Pediatrics shows that blue light emitted by digital devices is disrupting children's sleep patterns. Joining us now live by phone to talk about these findings is Children at Risk's AmeriCorps Vista Outreach Coordinator, Ben Halverson. Ben, can you tell us a little about your finding and the researchers found?
Hi, Hugh. Well, the researchers conducted a review of 20 recent studies covering 4 continents and over 125,000 children. They found a strong and consistent association between bedtime media device use and inadequate sleep quantity, poor sleep quality, and excessive daytime sleepiness. Basically, when children were using devices that emit blue light, such as smartphones and tablets, before bedtime, they had less sleep, and the sleep that they did have was poor quality. And that's actually not that surprising if you look at the research on the effect of blue screen light on the human body. The blue light triggers a response in our bodies, and when we see it, it disrupts our body's natural sleep cycle because it confuses our body into thinking that we're looking at sunlight, and so our body actually decreases production of melatonin, which is a natural hormone produced in the body that instigates the body going to sleep.
Fascinating. What were some of the statistics?
Well, so students who use these devices at bedtime were about twice as likely to not sleep enough compared with children who did not have access to those devices. Also, these kids using media devices were over 40% more likely to report poor sleep quality. One interesting point to consider is access to these devices. Kids who had access to these devices at bedtime were more than twice as likely to demonstrate excessive daytime sleepiness than those who didn't have access.
Now, that is truly striking. Now, what kind of implications does the sleepiness and poor sleep quality have on kids?
Well, this can certainly affect school performance, which is critical to a child's future. And beyond that, it can affect a child's eating habits, their metabolism, and their activity level, all of which make a child more likely to be overweight or obese. Poor sleep also can affect a teenager's driving as well as their judgment, and sleep problems have also been associated with other problems such as reduced immunity to diseases and an increase in substance abuse. Then kids and teenagers that don't get enough sleep perform worse academically, socially, and athletically. So when kids don't get enough sleep, they're being denied the opportunity to fulfill their potential and really give their best performance. And I can't recall the exact number, but 78% of all teenagers are not getting the required amount of sleep. And we've talked about this epidemic of underslept teenagers before, and they need to be helped because biologically their bodies are changing and they require more sleep. And it's funny that we ignore this biological instinct because it's become a cultural norm, but the human body is required to need more sleep at that time in development. So teens need more sleep than adults and kids, but they're the ones who are most at risk of spending excess time on technology. So teens have this sort of compounding effect of less sleep and lower quality of sleep that only exacerbates the problem. And this is the time when teenagers are making big decisions about college and their future, and we're asking them to do their best at school, at a sport, and they're probably working part-time to make some money, and we're asking them to do it on a fraction of the sleep that their bodies need.
Now, it sounds like sleep is certainly important for our nation's kids. What does all of this mean for parents, though?
Well, it's all about balance. You know, like other habits, good and bad, it starts with the parents, and we have to set a good example. We also have to enforce the rules. You know, no one wants to be told what to do or have their access to technology controlled, but at the same time, parents have to intervene if their kids are harming themselves, even if it's inadvertently or even well-intentioned if they're doing homework. And look, most adults aren't getting enough sleep, so I think it'd be good for most people to spend less time on their phones, no matter how old they are.
Is there anything specific that parents can do?
Well, families can make simple changes in the home. One option is to have a family charging station at home where everyone plugs in their devices at night and no child has access to them at bedtime, because simply limiting access can make a huge difference. And this might mean some adjustments for many of us, like having an alarm that's separate from your smartphone. And it might be inconvenient, but it's definitely doable. You know, we lived comfortably without smartphones for a very long time, and I think that's a small price to pay for our children to have better sleep. There's also a lot of apps available for both phones and laptops and computers that dim the screen and eliminate the excess blue light that is so disruptive of sleep. And I use that at home on my laptop and my phone because, I'm a tech guy. I watch TV on my laptop. I send emails and use a calendar on my phone. So I'm always using them late at night. But there are a lot of apps, and some are free and others are paid. And they dim the screen with an orange light. So if you really have to use your technology late at night, this is at least a compromise that helps protect your eyes and your quality of sleep. But, this is a compromise, and even if it does reduce the blue light, the mental stimulation alone is bad sleep hygiene. And, well, the last solution that's kind of goofy, but studies have shown is actually effective as well, is to wear glasses that block the blue light, so basically sunglasses, because that actually helps protect your eyes and stop that decrease in melatonin production that I mentioned earlier. And speaking of melatonin, I just want to make a quick point. Don't give it to your kids. I know it's available over the counter, but that is really a Band-Aid solution that only further disrupts the natural hormone production. So it's really counterproductive to do so. And if you really think it's necessary, talk to a doctor or a pediatrician first, because people really underestimate the effect of melatonin.
Wow. Now, those are some good suggestions for the home, but what does this mean for schools?
So the researchers of the study expressed concern about the increasing shift to technology in schools. Replacing textbooks with tablets increases access to these devices for many children, but replacing textbooks with laptops is less of a concern because they're less portable and less comfortable to have in bed right before a child goes to sleep. However, the researchers point out that school districts can play an important role in the public health issue. They could have discussions about the risk of sleep disturbances in a child's class, about digital citizenship, or in parent trainings. They could also educate parents, teachers, staff, and the community about the damaging influence of device use on sleep. And, as our kids become more and more integrated with technology, we're going to need to educate them on how to have boundaries with that technology and how to use it in a healthy way. Because a lot of people don't really understand the consequences of living these technologically integrated lifestyles. Human beings weren't meant to be hunched over their laptops for 8 hours a day and staring at bright lights from a screen every waking hour, especially not as kids.
Wow, well, those are all really great points, and thanks for sharing this new study with our listeners. That was Ben Halverson with Children at Risk, providing a voice for the children of Texas. You can catch Children at Risk on the highly rated weekly radio program, Growing Up in America, every Monday afternoon from 3 to 4 right here on KPFT. You can get more information on children's issues at childrenatrisk.org or by following them on Twitter at Children at Risk. Thank you so much for that, Ben.
Thanks, you. Have a good one.
You too. Now, in other news, the director of the Office of Government Ethics says White House counselor Kellyanne Conway misused her official position by hawking Ivanka Trump's product line on TV and recommends the White House punish her. In a letter to the White House, legal counselor director said, under the present circumstances, there is strong reason to believe that Ms. Conway has violated the Standards of Conduct Act and that disciplinary action is warranted. He also asked the White House to respond by February 28th with the results of its investigation and any disciplinary action it may decide to take. The House Oversight Committee chairman had asked the OGE for guidance on how to respond to Conway's remarks, which was described as over the line and unacceptable. Conway has said that Trump stands behind her 100%. Now we're going to head over to the traffic center with Shannon McCurchie and see how it's going out there. Make sure everything's safe and there's no tornadoes.
Thank you, Hugh. Okay, yes, tornado-free, thank goodness, now that things have cleared up quite a bit since this morning. And let's take a brief look at our roadways. On the West Loop northbound at Westheimer, there's an accident affecting the left shoulder. That's backing up traffic to Forness. Accident cleared from the West Loop southbound at Woodway, but traffic remains backed up to the Katy Freeway. And on the Katy Freeway outbound at Greenhouse, there's just a disabled heavy truck affecting the right shoulder. Traffic is backed up to Blaylock. That's a look at your afternoon commute. I'm Shannon McCurchie. Back to you, Hugh.
Thank you so much for that, Shannon. And finally, a group of celebrities are using their star power to send a strong message to lawmakers here in the Lone Star State. More than 140 artists, including Lady Gaga and Britney Spears, have signed a letter asking the Texas legislature to end the needless targeting of LGBTQ people in Texas. The celebrities range from actor Jennifer Lawrence to late-night talk show host Jimmy Kimmel and comedian Amy Schumer, vowing to commit to doing everything within our power to make sure all of our fans, crews, and fellow artists feel safe and welcome wherever they go. The letter comes as lawmakers brace this legislative session for debate on the so-called bathroom bill that would require transgender people to use the bathroom that corresponds with the sex on his or her birth certificate in government buildings. The bill, SB 6, joins some support in the Senate but is expected to hit turbulence in the Texas House. Lawmakers championing the bill, including Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, argue that the measure works to keep men out of the women's restroom to ensure women's safety and privacy. My name is Hugh Jones, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today at KPFT Local News. A special thank you to my news director, Tucker Wilson, and in the traffic center, our engineer, Shannon McCurchie. We'll see you here tomorrow. Have a great day.
This is Pacifica Radio's Letters on Politics. On today's show.
Well, it was clearly illegal. The Logan Act from 1799 prevents anyone in unofficial capacity, just